Good evening, everyone. Sorry, I'm just now getting around to going over the intraday trades from Friday and the holdings as we go into this next week. Like I stated before, my daughter's birthday, 13th birthday, is on Monday the 26th. So this weekend, we did some activities in Louisville and did some things around E-Town and everything for my daughter's birthday. So I'm just now getting around to doing this. I did decide to do this one on my computer versus my iPad. I don't know if it's going to change anything or make anything better or not, but just thought I would try it. I've tried to highlight things here to help me go through this, just to remind so I don't forget things as I go through this, just to try to make it a little bit quicker. I know the video can get long with so many tickers, however I know some of you just, fast forward and skip over some. Which is fine, of course. If you want to watch through it, then you can sort of see how some of these other, I say tickers, but these other ETFs work and how close they are or not, to the strike prices and stuff, and see how some of those work. I know you can see the distributions that pay out every month, but you can sort of see how the strikes go, because they do. I don't know if how they work these, or they have different fund managers for the different ones, or how these are truly worked. I know I've had an issue with a couple of codes this past week, and they've both been with the exact same ETF. So as I go forward, I'm going to see if I have some of the same issues. If so, then that leads me to believe that these may be managed by, different people. But I don't know. We will see, and we will go through these. I know I did hear feedback last week, at least from one person out of the, about 100 or so people that watched the video, that they liked how I went from the intraday trade and then reviewed the holdings. So I kept those ETFs together. So I'm going to do that again. Hopefully others enjoy it as well. I didn't hear anybody that didn't like it, just the one person that did. So I appreciate the comment and the feedback on that. So we're going to start here with AIYY. As you see, there were no intraday trades here. So we'll just move on over to the holdings as we go into this next week. And so the reason there were no, if you remember, if you've watched last week, there were no intraday trades on Friday, but on Thursday, on some of these, they closed the contracts out and opened the new contracts for the following week. But again, they did that on Thursday for some of these, so that's why you won't see any trades. So as you see, I'm sorry about that. I was testing it out and going through. But as you can see here for the AIYY, we have that weekly there. Expiring on Friday, March 1st, at the strike price of $31, which is, I think, been close to where it's been the past week or two. So we can see here that AIYY closed at $16.29 on Friday, and then AI actually closed at $26.15. It was up to $30 or $31, I think, last week. Might have been the week before when Palantir, they had good earnings, so they went up, and AI was starting to go with it. But since it has come back down $4 or $5, back down to the $26 price. So you see with our strike price of $31, we have $4.85 difference between the actual AI and the strike price there. It looks like we have about 6,600 contracts for AIYY at that $31 strike price. But we will move on over to AMDY. Sorry, I'm doing this with my finger on my computer screen, so it's a little different here. Okay, so we have AMDY. You can see we had a lot of transactions here. So you can see all of those that were closed out, which were our weekly calls that expired on Friday. So we had strike prices ranging anywhere from $175 there all the way up to $190, and you can see that all of those were bought back so they could get those closed out. You can see on the right hand side, if you're wanting to look at the cost per share, that $185, $187.50, and $190. I forget I can use a mouse so you can see me pointing here on this one. But these three right here, they all cost 1 cent per share to close out. So those were fairly cheap. Up here, this one, let's see, this was our $177.50 strike price. It cost 38 cents to close out. It was similar to the price here, but it was only because it was 60 contracts. So, but if you look at this 175 strike price, we closed out at, as you can see here, $176.52 on Friday. So we're $1.52 above that strike price for those 210 contracts. So it cost us $2.03 a share to close those that day. I don't know, again, we don't know when exactly these were closed out, or I don't know exactly when these were closed out, but that cost us $42,000 to close those out at $2 a share. And then you can see here that they did our weekly calls for the week with the expiration date of March 1st, which is Friday. Our strike prices are at $182.50, $185, and you see we have 1,000 contracts at that $182.50 and about 3,500 at $185. And then you could see over here how much money, and I said I was going to change the titles of these, but sorry about that. This is how much money we had made here, that 221K and that 556. So we actually brought in, as you can see with the positive number here, we brought in 728,000 even with those closeouts. But that's our total trades right there summed up. So just going back over to here, and so we have our AMDY. So this is just, you can see all of those added to what we had before. Are closed out and are adding of the new there. We have AMDY. It closed out at 22.18 and AMD was at 176.52. So we can see here we have that 182.50. So what that puts us about $6 from that strike price, and we're about $8.50 from the 185 strike price. So, and then of course you see we have our synthetic positions here with no changes to that. I'm just going to go ahead and move this up, and we'll go ahead and move on to the next one. I know I've taken a long time talking through the trades because we had so many of those there on AMDY. I'll try to do a little better to get through these quicker. So you see we have AMZ here, and the top two lines, I keep forgetting. So these two, they were closed out, our 172.50 and our 175 strike price that expired Friday. You can see here that the 172.50, you can see here we closed at 175, so that was $2.50 above, but it cost us that day when they closed those 925 contracts out $1.80 for 166,500. And then to close out the 175, it cost 12 cents to close those out, so it cost $24,000. But then we opened up, these are broken out. I don't know why it's moving like these two are broken out, but they're the same strike price at 172.50. So you can see here we have about 1,525 contracts for the 177.50, and then we have 175 at 1,500. So we're looking roughly 1,500 for each strike price there. So that one was set at basically where we closed. So we were at the money with that one, and then here we're $2.50 away from that. And then you can see the cost over there, but we have our total over here of all of the trades, which means we brought in there $291,400. So just to jump over here to the holdings tab, we closed AMZ 2307 on Friday. We've already talked about the Amazon price, and we actually had already talked about our different strike prices there, and you can see those listed over here. And then you see we have our synthetics listed there at 160. So we'll move on to Aptly here. And we have Aptly here. So we closed, it looks like we kept the strike prices the same, but we closed the one out that expired on Friday. It cost 2 cents to close that out per share, of course. So that cost us $5,690 to close those out. And then we opened that the new contracts for Friday's expiration at the same strike price of 185, same number of contracts, and we made the 281,000 there. So our total trades for Friday was we brought in 275,000 there. So if we go over here to our holdings, and we have our Aptly, so we have our new strike price listed there. And then we have our synthetics here that are at $190. So we're still about 3 weeks from those expiration there. So maybe we'll get above those by the time that comes around. But Aptly, when we closed on Friday, we were $18.18. Apple itself was $182.52, so I didn't really talk about that when we were looking over here at the trades. Yeah, so we were $2.50 from that strike price that we just closed out, and of course we opened the same one, or for the same strike price, so we're still looking at $2.50 to that strike price. So we'll see how that goes this week. And then, of course, we go to Coney. But, again, if you want to watch and see this more in detail, Retire on Dividends, which I'm sure all of you watch, he's been covering Coney and Tesla, and, of course, he has added MicroStrategy so he can do that from the beginning. So he'll be covering all three of those. And he's been tracking them for a while and has them all in depth, and he will be able to give an educated guess on how much money they have made for this month for the for the distributions. And with that said, somebody did ask me a question about me estimating, giving an estimate on how much I think the distribution will be for these. Unfortunately, even though I've been building this spreadsheet for a minute, I had not saved the trades every day of what happened. Therefore, I don't know how much money was made or lost every day because I didn't save the data. At least if I'd have saved it, I could have went back, but I did not. Therefore, I can't even make an educated guess for this next payout. But what I will do is, if, people can, continue to want these videos and watch these videos, then I'll continue to do it, which will then make me save the trades every day. So like I told my husband, right, it's when you have a workout partner, you have somebody to stay accountable to. And then if you do like Beachbody and stuff, right, you see all of the posts online of people taking their selfies and posting it. Just even something like that, when you post stuff on Facebook or on social media, it's like you start doing it, so there's that expectation you'll do it. So that's sort of an accountability. This is the same way that if I'm doing these videos every day and you're wanting them, then you're my accountability to make to make me make sure that I am saving these trades every day. But by doing that, then hopefully I can get to the point where I can fully understand all of this and be able to give those educated guesses. But I just started these last week, doing these videos every day, and this has just been a test for me to go through and a learning process, right? But again, it's holding me accountable and making me do this. So please let me know that you do want me to continue doing these and liking these, and hopefully, subscribing and watching and sharing and whatever. And I will do it. Again, this is it's a process. It's a learning process. I'm trying to do all of these tickers, all of these ETFs, and so I don't know. We will see how it goes. Unfortunately, it takes tracking them an entire month to even know how much money they made or lost during that month. Of course, if you aren't tracking these from the very, very beginning, even if you do know how much they made for the month, we know that they can adjust their payouts, because if they paid something out previously that they didn't really have the money for just yet, they may take that out of future distributions. But we'll see. Again, y'all just let me know how you like these videos, and if you want me to continue doing them. But sorry, I got way off track there, so let's go back into these trades real quick. So Coney here, we closed out on Friday. That let's see, we had 175 contracts, I guess, left. I'd actually have to go back and see, because that seems a little odd. So let's just look real quick. I was going to say I could have just, I guess, use my finger. Be a lot easier here. Yep, that is right. We had 175 contracts left because they had went ahead and opened up a position on the 1st. So I guess they left those there with that strike price. Okay. So now I know there's not, at least I know there's nothing messed up there. Okay, so they closed the rest of those contracts out. It cost them 2 cents, which is $350. And then they opened up 9,185 contracts with the expiration date of Friday, March 1st. And they used that same strike price at $177.50. And then you can see here that $177.50 weekly call that they sold. They brought in almost $2.3 million. So if we go on over here to our holdings tab in Coney, we see those 2 weekly calls there, that $177.50 that they just did, and the $185 that they had done the day before. So you have both of those listed there for roughly 9,000 contracts apiece. And then they have that synthetic there with the 18,000 contracts at $190. We're $25 away from that synthetic, but we still have a few weeks for these synthetics. But you can see here we're roughly $12 from that first strike price, and we're about $20 from our second strike price there. But Coney closed Friday at $21.87, and Coin had closed at $165.98. So we're going to move on to Dizzo. So our trades there, it looks like they opened up a strike price of $109 for 375 contracts, making $19,000 there. So when we go over here to our holdings, we see that strike price and the strike price from Thursday. So we have 109 and 110 with the about even distribution there of contracts. And Disney itself closed at 107.74, so about $1.26 from that first strike price and $2.26 from the 110 strike price. And Dizzo had closed at 21.72. So we'll move on to Meta. Sorry. There we go. So Meta here, we had a lot of things going on. Those first two lines, you can see that they had closed 855 contracts of the $480 strike price for that synthetic call put there. So if you look over to the right, our total cost, you're looking at about bringing in about $750,000 for those two. And if you look at the next two lines, which is line 3, I keep forgetting I have this. Sorry. So that was these two. And then here we have these two synthetic lines, our call put, same option dates there. They changed the strike price to $485. So they opened that same number of contracts that they had just closed, so 855. And the total cost for that one, just doing these numbers in my head, it looks like it cost almost $400,000 to do that one. So if you're looking at just the synthetics there, the total sum of those, they brought in $422,000 to close those out and open the 485 strike price. So if we move on down, and you see we have 3 lines here for our weekly calls. We had 480, 485, and 500, closing all of those. Closing those 3 cost us $411,000 because, let's see, we were at 484, so we were past the 480, and then we were right there at the 485. So, yeah, if we do all of those, so it looks like those synthetics, the money made on these synthetics paid to close these weeklies right here. And it basically gave us $11,000. So that was pretty much a wash. And then we look into the weekly calls that will expire this coming Friday. They did a 500 strike price and a 505 strike price, about even contracts there. And they made from those about $244,000. But if we look at the total amount, we brought in $256,000 for FBY there. So if we move on over to our holdings tab, we see those new strike prices there, and our new synthetic strike prices there as well. So FBY closed at $23.44 on Friday, and Meta closed at $484.03. So we are about $16 from the first strike price and about $21 from our second strike price there. And then we'll move on over to GUI. So we'll go to our trays. So I know this looks weird. I have all these extra lines here, but when they save these files, if they save these files and they have, something in the cells below, even if it's a space or whatever, the data won't come in and it'll give you a reference error unless I insert lines. So this is the first time we've had this issue, but that's why I had to insert those lines, and I just didn't go back and delete them once I had copied them over. So anyway, that's why that looks like that. So anyway, we have GUI here. You can see the first 3 lines here. We closed out those weekly calls that expired on Friday. Strike prices 144, 145, and 146. You can see here, let's see, well, it looks like our closing price ended up being almost 144. But these may have been closed out, in the middle of the day there. Because these were closed out, cost us 30 cents a share, but it was only 35 of those, or 35 contracts, sorry. And then we have this one, these cost 4 cents and these cost 1 cent. So still not bad. We look here, that cost us about $5,000 to close those out. So that's pretty good. And if we look at our new strike prices, we're at 146 and 147 for the week. We have the number of contracts split pretty much there. And you can see that we've made a little bit of money there. So our total cost for the week, we brought in $127,000 for GUI there. We move on over to our holdings here. We see our new weekly calls there, and then we have our synthetics at 150. So, and GUI, they closed at 17.20 Friday, and we went over Google. We're at 144. We're $2 to $3 away from our strike prices there. So we'll see how it goes this week. And then to JPMO. This is the one I've had issue out of twice this past week with the codes. So instead of me just typing over it this time, I just made it red because I want to see if we could continue to have issues with this program or not. But if you look at these line 3 and 4 here, those are the ones that were opened. So we have our call put, and these stay pretty much, I've seen these always in the same order. So if you're synthetics, you have a call put. The difference here is we went from a 180 strike to a 185 strike. And you see here, when we opened these, we have a bought here, a bought call, and a sold put. But then up here, when based on their codes, they have an S code for both of these for selling, right? But that wouldn't make sense in this case. So this really should be, if we have like here, we have this sold. Oh my goodness. I don't know why this thing keeps moving around. On here, we bought to open this call, right? So up here, we closed it by selling it. And here on our put, we sold it to open. So then up here, we would buy to close it. But for some reason they had the code of S in there. We had the same issue last week on one of them. It had BC, but it wasn't actually a buy to close. I kept the type there, but then I changed the data in the other columns. But anyway, I went ahead and typed the right formula in on the right, or did I? I might not have put. Now that I think about it, because I started trying to format my stuff and got on the computer, I did not put in the negative $sign. I am pretty sure. So let me just look real quick. Because again, I'm still learning on these, and because I have my stuff basically set up for formulas, I don't put too much thought into this. And when it comes to those codes, until it comes up with the NA. But so that one should have been a BC, which was a buy to close. So I should have added a negative. I guess I just forgot to do that for my formula, because this should be a negative number. I can make any of these negative, it doesn't matter. There we go. Sorry about that. That would have made... Oh, and this is NA because it's no longer a formula when I copy and paste data over. But since I overwrote that, I'll fix that. There we go. Sorry about that. I really should have looked at these before. But anyway, so I have fixed that there. You will see here, so we bought to close those, so we spent $60,000 to close those. So if we go here, and if we're just looking for synthetic, sorry, I just wanted to go over the error that we had there. But if we look at all of those synthetics cost, we ended up actually bringing in $227,000 for those. But we had that strike price of $180 for the synthetic, and now we will have a strike price at $185. And if you see, because we closed at $183.99, they were able to make some money there. And these didn't cost too much here to open these. Actually, we made $12,000 to open those. But anyway, sorry. Got a little off track on there. So if we look at our Friday expiration for our weekly calls, we closed those out. Our strike prices were 180 and 182.50. As you can see, again, we closed at 184, so we closed above those. So for our 180, it was $4.30 to close it out, and our 182.50 cost us $1.82 to close them out. To close out those weekly calls, it cost us $120,000. And then we opened up new weekly calls at different strike prices for those contracts. For our new ones, expiration date of Friday, March 1st, we have 185 strike for 100 contracts and 187.50, 360 contracts. So we made on those two, $34,360. So overall, we made on the trades $141,000. So if we go over here to our holdings tab, we will see that we actually have two different strike prices here for JMPO now. We have a 180 and a 185. Sorry. We have, interesting. So let me go back. Let's see what we look like here. And that is JPMO. Okay. Yeah, so we only had 180 here on this day. 180, 460 contracts, call, put, synthetic. And then our weekly calls was 460. So if we look at this new one, I just wanted to re-look at it. Well, we're looking at it here. So the trades, let me just double check this. They closed. Oh, I see what happened. Or I'm guessing what happened is, if you look here, because remember I talk about here this code being wrong. These two S's, and one should have been an S and one should have been a BC. Well, if we look here, our 180 now is 920, so it's doubled. Sorry, I guess I could use this. So that's 920. So I don't think this line is supposed to be here. I think our issue here is because they probably have formulas set up on their stuff too, and because they did two S's here instead, it just added those two together, or added two. Yep, because both of those should be closed, so it shouldn't be showing at all. But you can see we go from, oh, sorry, wrong tab. We go from here of having a 460. We have a 180 call and put. And I didn't even look, so it's the put here that has double on it because it doesn't have the call. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this to remember. Yeah, we're just going to make that there. Again, I think this is an error on them, and that line should not be there. So what I will do is when the next holdings come out, I will check to see if it's still there. If it is still there, then I will reach out to Yieldmax. I know I've had success talking with them on, what is it, X, Twitter, X account, whatever, when I've seen issues or something, I'll reach out to them on there. So if it is still there this next time, then I'll reach out to them that way. Okay, sorry about that. But we'll look here, JPMO, they closed at 21.05 on Friday. We had already talked about our $183.99 close, so we are $1 from our first strike price, and then we are $3.50, right? Doing too much math on here. Okay, yeah, if I look right here, $3.50 from our other strike price, with our new synthetic strike prices of $185. Okay, this has probably been the longest video I've done because of talking and then finding errors that I did not catch before. Sorry about that. So we have MRNY or Murny. They closed out the weekly call of $98 for 12 cents, costing about $25,000. And then they opened up the new weekly call for this week with a strike price of $100, bringing in $295,000. So total trades, we brought in $270 total. So if we go to the holdings, you see the new weekly strike price there. You see our synthetic strikes at 105, and mRNA closed at 96.46 on Friday, so we're $3.50 from our strike price. And MRNY was it closed at $20.03. So we move on to MSFO. So they closed out the weekly calls. Both of those, we had 4/12/50 and 4/15. It cost 16 cents for one and 3 cents for the other, with the total cost of them, it looks like about $7,820. And then we opened up a new weekly call for expiration on Friday, and the strike price for that one is $417.50 at 820 contracts, bringing in $132,000. So our total profit for those trades was $124,920. Let's move on over here to the holdings. We see that new weekly price, and we have $420 for our synthetics. We closed at $410.34, so we're roughly $7 from our weekly strike price there. MSFO closed at $22.55 on Friday. MSTR here, we had the weekly call that was closed out. It cost 5 cents to close that out. It cost us $185 total. And I'm going to have to mark that to go back and fix that formula, because clearly it did not pick up the total cost there. Well, I guess should use my, no, that's not what I wanted to do. There we go, sorry. So then our new weekly call there, new strike price is $755 for the 37 contracts at $12.80 a share. We brought in a little over 46,000. So our total trades there was we brought in $47,175. We go over to our holdings. We can see those there with our synthetic strike prices of $6.80. MSTR closed at $687.44 on Friday, so it looks like we're $67 from our strike price, our weekly strike price. That is a lot. So Misty or MSTY, it actually closed at $21.60 on Friday. So we're going to go over to the trays of Nestle, and we closed out those weekly calls there. We closed Friday at $583.56. And our strike price is the $585 one. We were a little bit over $1 from it, but it cost us $1.40 to close those 25 contracts. So it cost $3,500. Our 590 strike price at 17 cents a contract was $680. And then we closed our $605 strike price at 1 cent, costing us only $505. So not too bad there. It looks like it cost us roughly $4,700 to close our weekly calls out. And then to open our new weekly calls, we brought in about 210,000 there. So we have a new strike price of $595 and $600. We closed at $183.56, so we're about, I don't know, $11.50 from the first strike price, and I don't know, $16.50 from the other strike price. But our total trades there, we brought in $253,000. So we can see here our synthetic strike price is $585, and we're about where that is right now. And then Nestle, it closed at $18.44 on Friday. Sorry about that one. I know I sort of jumped around and went out of order on how I normally do that one. But let's move on to Nvidia here. We closed out our weekly calls there. Whew. So Nvidia closed at $788.17. So we had a strike price of $780. So we actually went over that by $8. But it looks like when they closed this, it cost us $21.72 a share. Luckily, we only had 115 contracts, but that ended up costing us $250,000 to close. Our strike price for $820 only cost us 26 cents a share, but we had 2,635 contracts, but in the end it still only cost us $68,510 to close that. So to close both of those, it cost us roughly $318,000. And then to open up our new weekly calls for this week, it looks like our strike price is going to be $835 for both of those. And we brought in over $2.5 million. So in all, our total trades, with the total cost of everything, we brought in $2.2 million. We go to our holdings. We see that $825 strike price there, but it looks like we also, on Thursday, must have opened up 25 contracts at an $810 strike price. And you can see here we have our synthetics at our synthetics at $710. Our Nvidia price was at $788. So looking here, we have our 810, so we're roughly $22 from the first strike price and roughly $47 to our second strike there. Nvidia ended up closing at $28.91. That's pretty significant because I don't think any of our other ones have closed up that high, with the exception of Coney, that I think had made it up to $30 at one point. I could be wrong. Let me know if I am. That's fine. But I do know that one was there. So we're going to move on to OARC here. We did not have any trades for OARC on Friday. So we'll just look at the holdings because we'd already had one on Thursday. So we have that strike of $5.50, and we closed at $48.41, so we're $2, 9 cents away from that one. We have our synthetics at $49, and it looks like OARC closed at $12.89 on Friday. So those are pretty much the same, with the difference of the actual stock and ETF prices there. So on PayPay there, we closed our weekly calls. Looks like it cost us about $6,500, so that's pretty good. One of them closed out at 4 cents a share and the other one at 2 cents a share. And then we open up our new weekly calls with a $61 strike. We brought in 71,000. So our total for the day, we brought in about almost $65,000 there. So if we go on over to here, we can see PayPal closed at $59.15, so we're $1.85 from our weekly strike price. There we have our synthetics at $65. And then for PayPay itself, it closed at $18.20 on Friday. So we will move on to Block. So we have here, and you can see here, this is what I was talking about earlier. This one was actually done correctly there. We have our first two lines, our call put, that they ended up closing. And then that was your 67.50 one there. And it looks like when they closed that, they made over. Am I going crazy? Nope. So for Block, it made over $6.5 million for closing out those two lines of synthetic there on the top. And then line 3-4, they opened up an $80 synthetic. And that cost about $360,000 or so. If we just look total, those up there are synthetics. We made $6.2 million off of closing and opening those. Okay, so, but we can see here the reason that they ended up closing those to make some money, because they lost a bunch of money here. We had a weekly call at $76 strike price, and Block closed at $78.92, so that's almost $3 above the strike price. But when they closed it, they paid $5.54 a share, which cost them almost $2.8 million. This week's weekly call, the strike price for that one is 84. A strike price of 84 for the 4,395 contracts. So yeah, if we look at just the weekly, right there, our weekly calls to close and open, that cost $2.2 million. But if we look over here, because they closed out those synthetic contracts above, we made almost $4 million on those. So if we go over here to our holdings, let's see, those are the $80. So, okay, so those were the new ones. So they had closed out all of the old ones, old strike prices, and we have brand new strike prices. And so all of those are brand new synthetic, brand new weekly there. And then this was highlighted last week because it was negative, so we were negative, so that covered that negative here as well. So SQI's close price on Friday was $23.56, and we had Square at $78.92, and our max strike price is $84. So we are $5.08 from that strike price. So we'll see what happens, because we know they did good on the earnings on Thursday, which is why they ended up going up, and we'll see if that will continue into this next week or not. So we have Tesla here real quick. So you just see they closed out their weekly call. It cost $42,000 to close out, and they opened up the new weekly call with the same strike price of $200, and they brought in $9.2 million. So total trades, they still ended in bringing in almost $9.2 million there. So we'll just go over here. We can see now, last week our cash, that's why I had this highlighted, because we were in the negative on our cash here as well. So we've been brought out of the hole on that one. And the one thing that I haven't done here is because theirs was already changed over for the split, the reverse split that's going to happen on Monday, and I have not done that here. So I'm going to have to try to find some time tomorrow night after work to do that. And tomorrow's in-office day, so I have travel time tomorrow, a couple of hours there and back. So we'll see when I get out the tomorrow's trades video out. But anyway, so we did close at 9:04 on Friday. So if we just go ahead and double that for our reverse split, that would be 18:08. So they're showing the NAV at 18:03. And then we had Tesla closed at 191.97. We can see over here on the right, we only have our one weekly call, which is at 200, but we have two different synthetics, our 185 and our 220. So we look here, we have our difference between our Tesla price and our max strike price, our 200, which was $8 and something cents there. Sorry, I'm just going to go ahead and move these down. Okay. So this one was different, and that's why I guess I forgot to highlight this one. We closed our weekly call there, 103 strike price. Of course, they Exxon was over 103 at 103.84, so it cost 71 cents to close these out, costing $80,000. And then when they opened up a new one, and guess what? Surprise! It's still $103, so that's awesome. Yeah, this one has just been the death of me. I just don't understand what's going on with this one. But anyway, you see that the date's not highlighted for the new weekly call because this one actually is not this Friday. It's the next Friday. So this one's actually 2 weeks away. So that's why it ended up not getting highlighted, because I had filtered specifically for the first to highlight those. So I think this is the only one that's happened with, but it's 2 weeks away. They ended up making $246,000. So in the end, the trade cost, or the trades brought in $165,000. If we go over to our holdings, you can see here that strike price, and our synthetics is $100, and of course we've already maxed out because, again, Exxon is over 103. Anyway, Zomo, XOMO, their close price was $17.47. And then I don't believe we did not have any trades for YMAG or YMAX. So really, that's nothing to go over here besides YMAG closed out on Friday at $20.62. And then YMAX closed out at $20.91. So sorry for such a long video. I know I ended up explaining an issue, and then I gone off on a couple of tangents to talk about a few different things throughout the video. So I apologize, and I'm sure my family's not too happy as they wait in the living room of the RV for me to get done here so we can watch a movie. Again, sorry about that. Sorry to rush and have to go, but I will talk to y'all later. Bye.